Hi everyone, it's Krista and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new, hi again. So this is my channel. I love to do all types of DIYs on a budget. I love to do thrift flips. I love to do Dollar Tree DIYs, and I also absolutely love to make wreaths. So if you like what you see here, you know what to do. Hit that red subscribe button. Also leave me a comment. I love to hear what you guys think. And give me a thumbs up. That helps my channel. You can also find me on Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok. And also I have a wreath shop. It's called Krista's Wreath Designs. It is an Etsy shop. I will have all those links down below. Today is all about Falloween, and our hosts are Rustic and Lace, 6 Kids in a Glue Gun, and Crafty Hints. And more about that in a minute, but first, DIY number 1. So we could have did Halloween or fall, but I had all my fall stuff out still. So I decided to do fall. So I'm going to use one of these Dollar Tree little pumpkins on a stand. I'm going to use some scrapbook paper, some chalk, Waverly chalk paint. These are really easy to take apart, these little signs. And it's really easy also to take the little piece of burlap part that's on the top. And then what I did is I sanded it down and I used my plaster paint by Waverly, and I just covered the whole thing front and back. Then once I got that all painted, I went in with my truffle paint by Waverly, chalk paint, and I did the little stem. Next, I figured out how much I wanted of the scrapbook paper. I'm only going to put half down. So what I did is I just indented it with my finger and then went down the center of the pumpkin with a pencil, cut it out, and then did the opposite for the other side, because you will see front and back on this. So I wanted to make sure it was a complete project. So first I used my glue stick to glue down the scrapbook paper on the front, and then I went and turned it over, and on the same side I put the other one. And then next what I did is I sanded the edges, of course, and I also came in with some of my antique wax, and I'm using one of these stencil brushes from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going along the edges to make it look a little rustic and give it some more detail. And then I do this all the way around the whole pumpkin on both sides. And next, I wanted to make like these little stitch lines going down the center to kind of separate it. So I used one of these. I've had this for a very long time because I used to scrapbook. One of these stamps, and they're the kind of those clear stamps. And I just put it on a stamping block that I had, and I just used this anti-color Distress Oxide ink pad, and I just stamped it down, and now it looks like a little stitch mark, which is super cool. And then I went in with some of the antique wax, and I just dry brushed the part that I had the plaster paint on, just to give it a little bit more rustic look. And now I'm going to just take some little bits and pieces of things that I had in my stash. I had some little leaves, so I glued those down, little green leaves. And then I had these laser cut leaves from the Dollar Tree that come in a package. And I used the little maple leaf, and then I used the other little leaf that comes in those packages. And I just glued those down to the front. I also glued some twine on the bottom of the stem, just some regular jute twine. I just, kept wrapping it and glued it. And I just used bits and pieces from that little pick that you see there. I used a couple of the little berries, and I glued that to the center of my little pumpkin, just to give it some more definition and look and nice, it just, you make it your own. And then I just cut my little twine piece off there. And next I'm going to use one of these that are meant to be used, that's a rub-on transfer at the Dollar Tree. It's meant to be used on glass, but you can use it on anything. And all you do is take it, stick it down to wherever you want to place the wording or whatever it is. And then you just use something to, like, you could use a card. I just use my Cricut little scraper, and I just scraped it on. And then you got to be careful though with these. You want to make sure, you want to pull it up slowly, because you want to make sure that it's all down completely. And there it is. And so that was my little grateful. that I put on there. And now I'm going to stick it back in its little stand because I want it to stand up. So the color was perfect because it was that dark color, like the trunk. So I didn't have to paint the base. And then I just glued it down with my glue, hot glue. And now in the front, I'm going to decorate it a little bit with some Spanish moss. This is totally optional. I just did it. I always go a little bit extra whenever I do my stuff because some of the stuff I do sell at my craft shows. So I try to like do a real lot with them to make them look a lot better than, you know, just a Dollar Tree item. So I could try to make them look a little bit more high end. And I took some of those berries that I clipped off of that same pick. I'm using the same pick that I got from, I believe I got this pick from Hobby Lobby last year. And I'm also going to put a little leaf on the bottom and then another one of those big berries. So I did like a little berry cluster on one side, which you'll see in a minute. It's hard to see in this angle, but I will show you what it looks like up close and everything. And then I took the little berry and I stuck that down in the corner where the leaf is. And there you go, you guys. And that's it. So here is the close-up. I think this turned out super cute, but I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments. So it's all about Falloween. We're supposed to be using fall or Halloween. I chose fall. So make sure you check the playlist down below, and all the hosts and co-hosts will be linked down below as well. So next, DIY number 2, I'm taking one of these leaves from the Dollar Tree, one of these burlap bags that I got like in a set of 3 a long time ago. And I'm going to be using my truffle paint by Waverly. And I'm going to paint this whole front of the leaf in that color. I didn't have to do the edges of it, just the front, because it was already a dark wood and I liked it. So then what I did is I took the burlap bag and I took that little jute twine that was wrapped around it to pull it, and I'm going to cut it open. And what I'm going to do is trace this leaf out on it, and we're going to cut it out, and then we're going to glue it onto the top of the leaf. This just gives it some texture on this leaf, makes it look a little bit more high end, and this turned out super cute. I absolutely love it. I can't wait till you see the last DIY because that one was my favorite, but you guys got to let me know which one is your favorite in the comments. So then I just used a regular Sharpie to trace it out. It was hard to get in between the cracks of the leaf, but I did manage to do it. I used like one of those thin Sharpies that you can get, not the real thick one. And then once I got it all cut, I just took out my Mod Podge and I just used my little spongy brush and just blended that out on the front of it. And then I just took my burlap leaf that I cut out and I stuck it on top. Now I also did the top as well because I didn't want the burlap to, you know, fray. So I did do some Mod Podge on the top as well. And then once that dried, I took one of these little leather tags. I love these, you guys. They came out with such cute stuff this year at the Dollar Tree. And I used this Grateful one that says Grateful on the leaf. And I'm going to glue that down to the center of the leaf to kind of match it up. And then what I'm going to do is, because of that little hole that's on the top, I just took a little piece of the berry pick again and I glued that to the center there of my leaf. And that was it, you guys. This one was super simple, but I think it turned out so cute. Let me know what you guys think down below. And then next is, okay guys, a really cool company called Olafus has sent me these really cool LED floodlights that you could put outside of your home and facing your house, or you can also put them inside if you're having a party. So these are the remotes that they come with. There's an app that you download, and these guys can even go to music. Super cool, you guys. How cool would this be for Halloween or Christmas or any seasonal holiday, you guys? These are absolutely awesome. Look how much they glow. Absolutely cool. Different colors and everything. Here's some of the music. So if you're interested, all you have to do is look down in my description box. I will have all the information down below. DIY number 3. This one I love too. It turned out super cute. So we're going to do a fall sign. So I'm going to use these. You could get them at the Dollar Tree. Some letters that I had in my stash. This long sign with the pumpkin carved on top. And I'm going to use some paints and some ribbon as well. I couldn't decide which one I wanted to use, so I used a few of them, and we're still going to use that pick. So first I'm going to mix, one is pumpkin spice, and the other color is just harvest. I think it's harvest pumpkin or something like that. These are both paints by Folk Art, and I just mixed them together because I wanted like a certain color, but you use any color you guys want, but that's what I did. And then what I did is I painted this whole sign front and back with this color. And I really like this color because it's kind of like a rustic orange color, and that's the look I was going for because I love rustic. And I just painted the whole thing, like I said, front and back. And once that was all painted and dried, there you go. Then I came in with my little finger sander and I just like sanded the whole thing. Just kind of gave it some distressing, I guess you could call it. And I did the edges really good and heavy on the edges so some of that wood could peek through that it had. And then I also did it to lighten it up a little bit around the whole sign. Then what I did is I took the leaves and the pumpkins that come in these packages from the Dollar Tree, and I did every other one. So I did a leaf, then a pumpkin, then a leaf, then a pumpkin. And I'm going to kind of stagger them. So I use these letters. I've had these forever, but I did purchase them at Hobby Lobby. So they're clear stickers, and they're perfect like if you don't own a Cricut or anything. And I like the font. I think it looks really cool. So I used them to spell out fall, of course. And I had trouble getting these off here. That's how long I've had them. They were like really stuck to the paper. And then what I did is I just stuck them in the center of each one of these. And like I said, I staggered them. And I just eyeballed it. I didn't make it perfect. This is the sign that's going to be at my house, so only I'm going to know that I didn't measure completely to make sure they were that far apart from each other. I just kind of roll with it and try to make this simple for myself. So then what I did, once I got them the way I wanted them and how I wanted them to look, that's the bow I made. I didn't show you making the bow because I take a while to make my bows, I'm not going to lie. I'm getting better at it. I make wreaths, so I am getting better at it. And I don't show it on film because until I know how to do it quickly, I'm not going to like torture you guys with making a bow. So just kind of, there's tons of tutorials on YouTube where you can watch how to make bows. But I put a bow on the top and that's how I made it. I just used a couple different ribbons that I had, and then I just put them on top of each other, and then I zip tied them together, and now I'm just going to glue them down to the top because I'm going to hide that pumpkin carve out. I didn't want it to be seen, so I just didn't want it on this sign. And then I just held it down until it's set, and now we're going to use that same pick again, guys. Can get a lot of use out of these picks from Hobby Lobby. And I took the leaves off, and I'm just going to kind of put them underneath a little bit of my bow and kind of have them hanging down. And I used both of the leaves that were on it. And I just put the big one down first, and then the little one kind of like off to the side a little bit. And then next, I showed you the back because I put a piece of burlap on the back so it could help stick everything down better because of that hole that it had. And then I took some of the berries and one of these little nuts that were on the pick as well, acorn I should say, and I just glued that on. And then this little berry I got off of another pick from a Dollar Tree pick, and I just glued everything down, and it just made a cute little cluster on the top with the bow. And that's my sign, you guys. That's it. These are so easy to make, you guys. And I'm just going to put this out on my front porch. And yeah, I have an overhang, so it'll be fine out there in the weather, you know, and stuff. But I live in Florida, so I should be okay. And there it is, you guys. Isn't it cute? I love the way this turned out. And there it is. I just leaned it up against my wall in my house till I put it outside. So next is DIY number 4. Now this one I absolutely love. I always wanted to make one of these. So I got this little pumpkin cut out from Hobby Michael's, and I got 40% off of that. And I traced it out on this sweater that I got from the thrift store. And this sweater was only like, I think, $1.99. And I just cut it out, and I'm going to glue it to the front of my pumpkin. But first, I'm going to use some antique wax, and I'm going to stain my pumpkin with that. And all I'm using is a baby wipe, and I'm dipping it in my little tray there, and I'm just wiping it on with my baby wipe. And I stained the whole pumpkin, front, back, and I also did the sides of the pumpkin as well. And I show you here, I just use a stencil brush to do it because the edges were a little rough. But these chunky pumpkins you can get at Michael's. I haven't seen them at Dollar Tree this year. They did have them the one year, so. But yeah, you can get them. And you guys, you always know they have the 40% off coupons for Michael's, so. So then what I did is I put my sweater on top just to make sure I didn't need to trim anything off, and I did, of course. And then what I did is I made this mistake, and I used Mod Podge, and the sweater did not stick to the Mod Podge. So it was a waste. So skip the Mod Podge and just glue it down with your hot glue gun. That's what I did. So I tried the Mod Podge first because I wanted to seal it so that the ends of the sweater don't fray. And it ended up that it didn't fray anyways because the hot glue I went to the very edges with the hot glue. I was very careful, and it worked. So it's not going to fray. So then I just used my hot glue, and I did little sections at a time, and then just kind of put it down flat. And then see how I did that very edge and then in the center. And then I did go around the edge, and I did trim all that excess that was hanging off. But it stayed really nice. And then I took another one of these tags, you guys. I love these leather tags. These faux leather tags, I should say. And I used the pumpkin one this time. And I believe it says blessed. And I'm going to hang it down from the center. You'll see in a minute. But first, I wanted to put some of these dried flowers that I had from Hobby Lobby last year. I have tons of florals, you guys. And I still have tons. And I don't need to buy florals like for a very long time for like any season. And what I did is I made like a little swag. I put some on each side, and I made them the size that I wanted. I cut them down to where I wanted them. And all I did was put a little hot glue and then use my jute twine and wrap them together to keep them together on both sides. And that's all I did. And then I just cut off the excess, made sure it was glued on real good. And then what I did is I'm going to glue that in the center like that. But first we're going to do our little pumpkin. So I took it off of the little leather strap that it's on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap the leather strap around the trunk of the pumpkin. And then I'm going to glue it down. So I just used the whole thing, and I just wrapped it around until, I got it around there. And all I did was tie it in a knot in the back of the pumpkin part of it to make sure it stays on there. So I just did it like you would if you were making a little, what do they call it? Oh my God, I can't think. If you were making like a little thing for your tier tray to hang down with the beads. So that's all you're doing, and that's what I did. And then what I did is I'm going to glue this down, and I did come in with some of these little cotton tails, I think they're called, and I put a couple of those on here as well, on the top on both sides and on the bottom on both sides of that little swag that I made. And I just gave it some, I wanted it to look a little high end, and I think I really succeeded in that department. I like it, and it turned out so pretty. So I glued it all down, and then I did the bottom as well with those little cottontails too. I don't know what these are. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing, but you know what I mean. Just watch. If you just watch, it's better than me talking. But Then after that was all glued down, I took one of these little brads that I've had for years because I used to scrapbook. So don't ask me where you could get these because I have no idea anymore. But you could put a button in the middle too. And I just put this little metal brad in the center. It was a little leaf and it went perfectly with the colors. So I just glued that to the center. But you could put a button or anything. And there it is, you guys. I love the way this turned out. So here it is. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to go check everyone out. And don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you. And I want to thank you guys for watching. And as always, remember, stay crafty. Bye.